Erin.
And I'm Katie.
And you're listening to Ropedrop Parkhop. This is not our first rodeo today. We tried once, we failed, we're trying a second time.
If at first you don't succeed, hit record again.
That's right. Stop the recording and start fresh. Now, if we talk about the same things, it's just going to feel silly to us. So we won't do that. You'll never know. You'll never know what we talked about on the first one.
Nope.
Sorry. Sad for you. Let's read a review. This one is from a year ago from s.ver. Is that like a.ham?
Yes.
A.ver.
Yes.
S.ver. Learning Disney language, 5 stars. I haven't been to Disneyland since I was 10, so when my in-laws announced they'd be taking the whole crew on a special trip, I panicked. I want my in-laws to announce something like that. Dear in-laws. I'm a planner and like to feel prepared, and this podcast has been invaluable in getting ready to go. With all the lingo and jargon to learn, it's felt like I'm learning a new language. I say this all the time, that it's like a college course, right? Mm-hmm. To learn how to go to Disney. When a friend said they were going 2 weeks after us, I asked a bunch of questions. Did you get Oogie Boogie tickets? Are you park hopping? Think you'll rope drop? She looked at me like I was crazy. I immediately suggested Katie and Erin's podcast to help her get Disney ready too. 7 days from our trip, and I'm re-listening to a few classics. Feels like I'm cramming for a final exam. Thanks, ladies.
How do we get accredited so that we can count as college credit?
Or even continuing education. Yeah. If you need continuing education.
Disney CLE.
Yes. I like it a lot. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Thank you for that 5-star review. And here's your weekly reminder. If you haven't already left us a review or a rating, we'd appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Those are helpful for us.
Thank you.
They keep us in the charts. They help other people find us. They help us show up on recommended when other people are listening to other Disney podcasts. Mm-hmm. So it helps keep us in the algorithm, and we appreciate it so much.
Yep. And also we just like them because sometimes we wonder who's listening, if anyone is. Mm-hmm. And it just reaffirms that we should keep doing this, I guess.
And it helps our little heart sometimes.
It does. Sometimes we need it.
Some days we have bad days.
Yes.
And then we just read nice things about us and it makes us feel better. Speaking of our algorithm and reviews and all of the things, guess what's coming up?
Tell me.
Our 3-year anniversary.
That's right.
Like in 10 days-ish from now.
Yeah.
From recording, not publishing.
Yes. We just had our 150th episode a few episodes ago. Yeah. Now we're coming up on 3 years.
Yes.
Guys,
we're coming up on a download milestone too. Yep. So it's all very exciting. Thanks for being here for the ride. A.ver. Tell us if you're still here.
Yep. Please
listening to the classics.
All right. Well, today we don't have a ton of news, but
there's some.
There's a little bit. There's a sprinkling.
Yes. Did we? I know we talked a little bit about Disneyland Forward last week.
We did.
But I think since last week, Bob Iger came out and said that the first project for Disneyland Forward is going to be the Avatar Land.
Right. That's the only confirmed one so far.
Right. I'm curious. Mm-hmm. What's it going to be?
What is it going to look like?
Is it going to be similar to Walt Disney World's? Mm-hmm. Are we going to have
why were they calling it an Avatar experience to begin with? And now they're calling it an Avatar Land.
Maybe so they didn't have to backpedal, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes, backpedaling. But also
Disney.
Maybe they were testing out the idea of starting light and building up.
Maybe.
Which they should do often.
Right. The other thing that he said is that it will probably be all IP focused going forward, which a lot of people are okay with.
Asher is not.
Some of us are a little bit about it.
I don't understand. I mean, there are original ideas still to be made and still to be had.
Yeah, I think what's happening is us older folks.
The elders.
Yes, are not the target demographic anymore, right? I mean, we are because we're still taking our kids and I mean, us specifically, we're Disney adults and we're still going on our own. But I feel like they're starting to cater to younger and younger, right? Mm-hmm. Which that happens. And they love the movies.
I guess. I don't know. Give us a couple of original things.
Yeah.
We don't need all IP. Or even if it's IP, I don't know. Even if it's IP based, like don't give us Flight of Passage. I mean, it would be cool, but give us something new.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not enough real estate, I don't think.
For Flight of Passage?
For Flight of Passage, or at least for a Pandora that's on the same scale as the one at Animal Kingdom. I don't think. But maybe.
I don't know. It might be right out your window at the Disneyland Hotel. Mm-hmm. You might have that big floating rock.
Hey, as long as I can open the window and listen to the water, I'm totally fine with that.
And the bioluminescence at night. That'd be cool. A great view, yeah. Anyway, we'll see. We don't know what it looks like, but that's what it is. So
stay tuned for more updates on that. We, again, don't know timeline or anything for any of it, just that it's ready to move forward.
Disneyland Forward is ready to move forward. Some candy updates. Marceline's is closed in downtown Disney. I almost said Disney Springs. In downtown Disney, but you can still mobile order, and there still is a booth outside where you're able to pick up sweets. They're expanding. We've talked about this just a little bit already, and they've closed down for that expansion.
And nobody knows how long that will be?
No. I'm glad they waited at least until Paseo and Centrico opened, so it didn't feel like everything in that area was just shut down.
And in downtown Disney, also Din Tai Fung is coming along swimmingly. It looks like it's getting ready. Like, remember we said a couple weeks ago we weren't sure if it was going to be ready in time. It's starting to look like a restaurant. There's signage up and all. Yeah, very exciting.
See,
so it's supposed to be,
need to go.
It's supposed to be June, right?
I don't know. But listen to this sad news. Pride Night sold out.
Pride Night is sold out. But I do have a friend going that maybe could come on and give us a little update on how it went.
To Pride Night? I thought you meant that we were going to go with. I'm like, wait, we have a friend we're tagging along with? Okay. Dang it,
funny.
Katie.
I have a friend that bought us tickets. No.
We have been invited by a couple of listeners. They're going to be there the same week, and they've invited us to join them.
That'll be fun.
You're not able to go that week. Your husband is participating in a race.
Correct.
When they're going to be there.
Got it.
But maybe I'll go without you.
Yeah.
Forget you.
For it.
Just kidding. Speaking of candy, Tigger Tails have been a source of angst for people because Critter Country is shut down.
Oh, right.
And Pooh Corner is shut down. And that is where you get Tigger Tails. They are at Candy Palace until Pooh Corner opens back up. So if you are a Tigger Tail lover and you are going soon, don't fret.
Okay.
You will find them on Main Street.
Only Candy Palace, not Trolley Treats or Marceline's.
Candy Palace.
Okay.
I think so. And then...
Also, wait, sorry. Have you seen the construction? People have taken pictures from the train.
You were talking about.
Yeah,
it's leveled.
It's demolished over there by Pooh Corner and
weird.
The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
Is it to like access the queue differently?
No idea.
For Tiana's?
We've been saying this for weeks, but we are very worried about the many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and that construction is encroaching.
Oh, me too. I don't want it to go. I love it.
Yes. I mean, I know that the shops are not going anywhere. They're just getting a retheme, right?
Mm-hmm. They've announced that.
But nothing, no word on what's happening with Pooh.
But the pictures are scary. I didn't see them.
Yeah. It's a little scary.
Magic Key update. If you are a Magic Key holder, this applies to you. In the app now, you are able to see if you have missed reservations. There has been not drama. Maybe that isn't the word, but what's a better word for it? I don't know.
Hullabaloo.
A little hullabaloo because people don't know sometimes.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you have privileges revoked if you miss 3 reservations. And people will show up and their privileges have been revoked and they're not able to get into the parks for 30 days.
Right.
And they had no warning.
Right.
Or at least according to them.
No way to keep track of it anyway.
Right.
You'd have to keep track of it in your head.
Right. And so now you're able to see in the app if you're a Magic Key holder. If you click on Make a Park Reservation, it will show you if you have any missed reservations attached to your Magic Key.
Got it.
So that's exciting for you guys.
That's exciting.
What else?
Let's talk about the new railroad, Disneyland Railroad, and I can't remember what it's called. The tour.
Yes.
The train tour. That's what we'll call it.
We'll call it the train tour until we find the actual name of it. Stand by.
Super fun. It looks really fun. The reviews are that it's fun up until the end, and then there's a little bit of a disappointment. So if you already have tickets to go, I wouldn't skip it. Don't cancel it. But just be aware that the glimpse of the roundhouse where the trains get parked at night, where the trains go to sleep, is just that, a glimpse. You kind of like peek around the corner backstage and you see it from a distance. You don't get to go up close. Here is my plug for Run Disney, because if you sign up for a Run Disney race at Disneyland, you get to actually run directly by the roundhouse and you can peek inside and see all of it.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
It is called the Disneyland Railroad Guided Tour.
There you go.
So that's exciting. They weren't very creative on that.
Yeah.
But in the description, it says, catch a rare glimpse of the Disneyland Park Roundhouse. This is where the magic happens for the historic Disneyland Railroad system, and it's not typically viewed by the public. You'll learn more about the engineers that look after the Disneyland monorail and trains. So, no, you won't go back there. It's literally just a glimpse, and the review that we read said that actually when you're riding the train, if you turn around and look, you're closer.
You'll see more
than the glimpse that they're giving you on the tour.
But they did say that the ride on the Lily Bell was fantastic. And there were a lot of questions from people that, for instance, are in wheelchairs about how they were going to get on the Lily Bell because the Main Street Station is not accessible. You actually board at the Toontown Station.
Yep.
And you do a full circle tour from there. So you start at Toontown and end at Toontown.
And then you go to the glimpse of the roundhouse.
Yes. Which you go kind of like the parade route, it sounded like. Like you kind of go across the railroad tracks back there and then peek around a corner at the roundhouse
so when
and then
you're
come
on
back
the train, when you're between Toontown and Tomorrowland, you'll see the railroad crossing that has all of the Autopia cars parked by it. I think that is where you are going to be standing, basically, to look at the roundhouse.
Yes, and I think they actually did say it was the old Fantasyland Autopia entrance.
Interesting.
Is where you go. They did say they loved the pastry, which was actually a sweet sticky bun with apple strudel topping on it, maybe. That looked really good. And then the keepsake is a replica of the railroad map that is in the Main Street Station with the new rides added that are not on it. So like Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway show up on it and stuff. Cool. So I think that's a really cool keepsake.
That is a cool keepsake. Yeah. And you get a sticker as well.
Right.
So anyway, that's exciting.
The sticker that says, I survived the glimpse of the roundhouse.
The glimpse of the roundhouse, yes. It's a 2-hour tour.
A 2-hour tour.
Thank you. I was hoping you would do that. And I believe it's $139 per person.
Yep, that's right.
So if you want to do that. And you can do that 60 days in advance, just like you can any other tour or dining or anything like that.
And so far, I don't think anybody has had to skip the Lily Bell, but that is a possibility if the weather is not cooperating.
It doesn't come out when it's too hot and it doesn't come out when it's raining.
Right.
They like to protect that little fella, little lady.
The little lady.
She's a Lily Bell. She's a lady. Okay, so some other things to note. We have seen, we don't really understand. We tried to find some information. Security's kind of been a hot mess this past week.
Yes.
And we don't know why. We couldn't find any reasons why, if they're doing anything differently. There's some speculation that some things made it through security. Pepper spray, I read. A screwdriver, I read. So several different items made it through the security checkpoint that should not have made it through the security checkpoint. And so they're being more thorough, and
maybe that's slowing things down.
Yes.
I had a guest client friend there last week, and they are hardcore rope droppers. So they showed up at 6:30 outside the Esplanade, and they were gated off from even going into the Esplanade at all at Harbor. So that's a change. I know they're testing some of the new gate entries at DCA for actual guests. So maybe that's holding things up a little bit. I don't know.
It's weird.
But just be aware, you may have to wait a few extra minutes at security. I know how they could fix it, make it faster. Install the walkthrough.
Because it is really quick at Disney World. It's really quick. That's one thing they get a win on.
Yep. Unless you're me and you get stopped to have your bag checked every time
single time. But you didn't on the end, did you?
I didn't, but you did.
What did I have?
I don't remember, but one time I didn't get stopped,
I had something.
You got stopped.
That's right. I remember. Dang it, one of us always.
So funny.
We're problematic.
But I did figure out what was causing it, and it was all of my buttons. I had a bunch of rope drop podcast buttons in my bag, plus I don't even remember a bunch of other buttons. But once I got rid of those, I was fine.
And then I added something to mine.
Yeah.
Was it my Birkenstocks? I think it was my Birkenstocks.
Is that what set it off?
Yeah, I think it was. I have big buckle Birkenstocks, so they have a nice big metal, big metal buckles on each foot, and they set off every single security thing I ever walk through.
So crazy.
And I get wanded and searched real quick.
Quick update on Good Times with Abe. We didn't really go into much detail about it last time, but it is a $5 million refurb, which that's pretty huge for that attraction. The animatronic's not going anywhere, but it doesn't sound like they have applied for any permits to do anything with that animatronic. It's going to be the turntable that's getting an update and the platform. Oh. They're going to replace the whole platform. So
cool. And you can go in there and have a seat in the air conditioning still. And I also read that because there are so many tours and they're introducing new tours, that you will check in for certain tours at Good Times with Abe versus the Tour Garden.
Right. Which, that's great.
Some news over at Walt Disney World. There is an opening date for Rock and Roller Coaster. July.
There's a date. We don't know what it is, but
I do. I took a screenshot of it. Hold on one second. Stand by. I forgot for 2 seconds. July 27th. So July 27th, Rock and Roller Coaster reopens. That's exciting. There is no news that it is now Queen.
Right.
Sorry.
Not Queen, not Powerline. It'll just be Aerosmith still, which is fine.
What would you change it to if you could?
I would do Powerline, I think.
I think Powerline would be, I think Queen would be great.
Yeah.
I think that there's some really fun options over there.
I have a feeling if they do change it, it would be to Disney IP, though, so that they don't run into this issue again, right?
Right. And that's back there. Let's see. I think that what would they change it to? Because it's right by Tower of Terror.
Right. There's a Cars
and a Cars
show
thing
over there, so maybe a Lightning McQueen themed roller coaster. That would
Life
be
is
fun.
a Highway?
Yeah. That'd be fun.
I don't know. No.
Which version?
I do not. I don't know. And I don't vote yes for that. I oppose. Another little bit of Disney news, which actually this is super cool. And we would really like this to happen at Disneyland eventually. But where would they do it? There's a drone show coming to Disney Springs this summer, starting up actually this week, May 24th, running through September 2nd, twice a night in Disney Springs. It's called Disney Dreams That Soar, presented by AT&T.
Very nice. Like a cell tower, it soars.
800 drones in the sky. I imagine it'll be over the water in Disney Springs.
Probably.
That feels like the best place for it.
They were doing some testing for it, though, and it looks really cool.
It looks super cool. And drones fascinate me. And how they run them all to 800 of them working in unison.
Yes, it's fascinating and also a little terrifying, because what happens if they become sentient and they come after us?
Yes. You watch too many movies. I think it looks so cool. Where would they do something like this at Disneyland?
I don't know. They have a drone show in Paris.
Over the castle.
And then is there one in one of the Asia parks? I'm trying to remember. I feel like maybe Hong Kong?
Yes, maybe, but I don't remember.
But it's time to bring it to Anaheim. I don't know if the wind in Anaheim is a problem, but I feel like that's safer than fireworks.
Right. You lose a drone, it crashes into a building, it doesn't light anything on fire.
Right. And a lot of upfront investment, but also maybe cheaper in the long run. Because you can reuse the drones over and over again, whereas fireworks, you got to buy new ones every night. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe it's coming. Maybe it's part of Disneyland Forward.
That'd be really cool.
Maybe there will be new, they're called weenies, right?
Weenies.
New weenies that we could have a drone show over in the park expansion areas.
Maybe.
That'd be fun. A volcano.
Guys, we have ideas. Disney, call us.
Yep.
Give us a call.
Yep. We're ready.
And then last little bit that's not parks related at all is Inside Out. I'm excited. Inside Out 2 comes out this summer, June 14th, just here in a couple weeks.
Just in time for Pixar Fest, right?
I'm going to talk about Pixar Fest. I'm done talking about it.
Don't forget that the awesome Disneyland ticket sale starts May 29th.
May 29th is when it kicks into play.
And it's a killer deal, guys, so take advantage of it. And if you need help planning a trip, we're here for you.
Yeah, and if you missed it when we talked about it, there are hotel deals, there are ticket deals. Like Katie said, they go on sale on the 29th of May, and they are good for June 10th through September 26th. Those are your usage dates.
Yep, which is during Oogie Boogie Bash season. So that's a huge deal.
It is.
And also, we do not have Oogie Boogie Bash ticket release date yet. So
nope, it's probably going to be announced later today.
Probably.
Is my guess. But yeah, if you guys are going to Disneyland this summer or you're thinking about it, it's pretty affordable to go this summer. And we talked about this again, if you missed it. It's not just a kid deal this time. It's a kid and an adult ticket deal. And the tickets don't have to be used consecutively like regular tickets where they have to be used in 13 days. These are good for the entirety of that window.
And there's 2 different tiers. There's a weekday tier and a weekend tier, but we can walk you through that if you need help with that. Reach out to us.
Which a lot of people are very confused by that.
Yeah, it's not that confusing once you know.
They just worded it poorly.
Yes.
So anyway, if you want to go to Disneyland, let us know. We're happy to help you. If you want to go to Disney World, they have specials also.
Yes. For days.
They have ticket deals. They have hotel deals. So,
free dining deals.
Yep. We'll help you with that too.
Okay.
And there's some DAS changes, but we're going to talk about that in the guts of the episode, so stick around. Mouse World Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner specializing in vacation destinations all over the world. From frequent theme park getaways to annual family cruises to once-in-a-lifetime epic worldwide adventures, we can help you make those dreams a reality. At Mouse World Travel, we focus on quality vacations to provide guests with the most optimal experience. Our agents treat each trip as if it were their own, which means a special, personalized vacation just for you. Our agents provide concierge-level service during the vacation planning process, including offering recommendations to fit your family's needs, such as help choosing hotel or dining locations, suggesting add-ons or extras that we think your family might enjoy, offering tips and tricks to make the most out of your vacation, and answering questions to help you plan efficiently. Some of our more popular vacation destinations include cruise lines such as Norwegian and Royal Caribbean, all-inclusive destinations such as Sandals and Beaches, Universal Parks and Resorts, and of course the various Disney destinations, which include the theme parks, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and Alani. There's something for everyone, and no matter what type of vacation you're looking for, an expert agent at Mouse World Travel will help you get there. This feels like a womp womp.
It does. This is not an exciting episode, sorry guys, but it's something that we feel like needs to be discussed a little bit, and it's been on our brains, and it's kind of clogging up our news feeds on social media right now and in all the forums. So let's just talk it out. This DAS, Disability Access Services.
Hold on. I want to give a disclaimer before you go too far into this. We're probably going to be a little sarcastic.
Yes.
We're probably going to be a little
salty.
A little salty and bitey. Mm-hmm. So, sorry.
Yeah, hang in there. And please give us your feedback. Like, reach out and tell us if you are having personal experience with this. We want to hear your stories, because Disney also needs to hear your stories.
Okay, here's what I want to start by saying. Yes, people abused the old DAS system. Mm-hmm. It was abused, but it wasn't
that easy to get.
It wasn't that easy to get. And secondly, I don't know the ins and outs. I don't see numbers or anything like that. I just know that when you use DAS, you access a ride through the Lightning Lane. I don't feel like it was, I don't feel like the impact was really that.
It wasn't so advantageous that it was making other guests' experience worse.
Right. Like, I feel like I feel like Lightning Lane access maybe has changed because they're prioritizing it because of the cost. But I feel like it's not a whole lot different from what it was 5, 6, 7 years ago before the shutdown. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like, I don't know. Maybe I'm misguided.
Maybe.
I don't know, because I just feel like the standby waits have been very similar to what they were 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how, if as many people were abusing it as you would be led to think when you're reading forums, if as many people were abusing it, those Lightning Lanes would just be backed way, way, way up. And they're not. When we use Genie Plus and we go through a Lightning, you're through pretty quickly.
Yes.
And so I just don't, I know there are people abusing it. I'm not saying that there's not, but I just don't feel like it's as many as people want to believe.
Right. And is the amount of abuse going on worth punishing everybody else for? That's really the bottom line. And like you said, we don't know. We don't see the numbers. Right. We don't know how Disney is. I hate to say this. I hate to be this cynical, but are they pushing Genie Plus sales by getting rid of the amount of people that can be eligible for DAS?
Absolutely.
Like, is that really what the bottom line is? Like, that makes me sad.
Which means that people who have disabilities are having to pay for access.
Yeah.
And that is not legal.
Right.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about it. And like I said, we're a little salty about it. It just rolled out this week at Walt Disney World. And we are part of, a lot of Disney forums, including travel agent forums, where we get feedback from, other agents who have clients traveling, and they're getting feedback from their clients.
That have actual real experience. Correct. And not just an assumption that this is what's going to happen.
They've started doing the interviews for Disneyland's, and people are being declined already. And I believe that if you had, I know the date is coming right up, but let's just treat this as if it's both coasts. Because as of right now, the policy is the same across the board, and this is what is happening. And our honest opinion is the backlash is going to be such that Disney's going to have to reevaluate.
And I know you feel a little bit differently than me, but I am still cautiously optimistic that it will change for the better, that the way that it is currently will not stay in place, and that there will be some changes that come about because of the backlash. Just from what I'm seeing on these forums, there's no way that Disney can't hear what people are saying and make some changes. So I'm still cautiously optimistic that it's going to get better.
I'm cautiously optimistic as well. I really am. I hope that they are paying attention and receiving the feedback, because this has changed how a lot of families are going to be able to do Disney.
Right.
It's made it actually really hard for people to do Disney. There are people who are saying that they are done. They won't go back because they're not able to now.
Right. And I have actually seen a couple of other agents post that their clients are waiting to find out if they're approved for DAS, and that will determine whether they go or not. So the problem there is you can't apply for DAS until 30 days before you go, and you have to cancel your trip 30 days before you go to not be in penalty. So they make it really dicey.
Right.
And what happens if you don't get through to DAS on that 30-day mark?
Okay, so let's read the verbiage really quickly, which we've done before.
Yeah, let's do the straight facts.
Let's do the straight facts, and then we'll
insert our opinions.
Yeah. Okay. Important details about DAS. DAS is intended to accommodate only those guests who, due to a developmental disability such as autism or similar, are unable to wait in a conventional queue for an extended period of time. DAS doesn't provide immediate access to experiences, but rather allows guests to request a return time for a specific experience that is comparable to the current standby wait. The guest who is requesting to use DAS must be present during registration and when redeeming a DAS return time at the Disneyland theme parks. Registration process, you can choose 2 ways to register. You can do it via live video chat as soon as 30 days, like Katie just mentioned, prior to your park visit, or you're able to do it in person at an accessibility services window during your visit. So they are going to have an accessibility services window set up in the Esplanade where you are able to go through and request DAS there.
I'm hearing reports, though, that you are not able to go to a blue umbrella in the park, at least at Disney World so far, like you were able to before for DAS issues.
And it's harder at Walt Disney World because it's so spread out. You know, we have that Esplanade area that is central to both parks. What do they have there? They don't. Disney Springs? I mean, like, could they set something up there? I know that they have some things there. I don't know. So that's how you do it through or for Disneyland. Okay, so let's talk about how we feel about it.
Not good so far.
Not great. And the feedback we're getting is really bad. In fact, I'm on our travel agent page right now, and a travel agent posted yesterday, anyone have DAS stories to share? I have very anxious clients. And
it's a lot of comments.
It's a lot of comments. One of the comments that is there from a travel agent who says that she has a son with Down syndrome who was denied.
So that's part of my problem is how ambiguous the language is on the website about
they specifically mention autism
or similar.
Yes.
What does that mean?
But I also read a comment yesterday, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was somebody who had several things that she would have qualified for in the past, including being on the spectrum. And she was denied as well. And so she is on the autism spectrum and still was denied. So
it's very arbitrary.
It is very arbitrary.
And did we decide that they are using a third party for the verifications on the interviews?
I've read about a third party, but I also don't really understand how the third party comes in, because some other things that we have read. I read yesterday about a woman who has a heart condition and causes her to faint, I believe.
Okay.
And
overheat more easily, maybe.
Yes, and it is exacerbated in extreme heat. And so her view of previous DAS was, I could wait in a cool area, and then I could use a very quick line to get into the attraction and not have to be in the heat for very long. And she has now been told that is not an option for her. And when she spoke to the cast member to be qualified for DAS, the cast member suggested to her that she bring ice packs and cooling towels, and that should really help her. So my issue is, and what was another one? There was another one I read that said,
if you have PTSD, bring a stress ball in line. That will help you.
And then there was another one about diabetics are really concerned. Type 1 diabetics are very concerned that if all of a sudden their blood pressure drops, they were told to go ahead and handle that in the line. So they're just supposed to pull out their hypodermic needle in the line to give themselves some insulin.
Or just make sure you pack snacks.
Or make sure you have lots of candy and sugar. And there was one mother who said, my daughter hit a low when we were in line, and I was pumping candy into her, and we couldn't get her numbers to come back up. And she said, thankfully, we were quick in and out because this was previous DAS, and we got cotton candy immediately after, and we were able to get her numbers up. But I don't know. I just feel like there are other reasons besides autism.
Yes. Well, and the other thing that I've seen that's confusing to me is the return to line option.
Okay.
That, I mean, maybe that's a whole nother episode on its own.
So go back to our episode about Universal Studios from just a couple weeks ago. People don't love when a bunch of people are crushing past them to meet up with their party in the front of the line. Yet that's what's being suggested for people who need to leave the line.
Right. Which, in theory, it probably would work for a lot of people, but what happens when you are having like a diabetic crash and you need to leave immediately and you don't have time to find a cast member to get whatever card or lanyard or whatever tells everybody that you're coming back into line.
What happens when you're stuck in that bottleneck of Peter Pan?
Yeah.
That's the thing is like Peter Pan, how do you get out of there? And then how do you get back in?
Right. And then the rides that are accessible for wheelchairs and scooters, how do you turn a wheelchair around and get out of that huge line and then get back into line in a wheelchair?
Yep. There are a lot of guests who have like irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's disease who have emergencies that happen all of a sudden.
Right.
And they need to, or ulcerative colitis was another one I read a little bit about that qualified for DAS in the past and are no longer qualifying for DAS now because
it doesn't fit in the language of what's on the website now.
It doesn't. And my other issue, so back to one of my main issues, this whole thing about bring cooling towels, bring stress balls, bring candy. I'm really frustrated with the idea that cast members who
are not medically trained necessarily.
For the most part, probably. I mean, there may be some who have some medical background, are not medically offering really bad medical advice. This is really bad medical advice. If you have a heart condition that causes you to faint because you're overheated, telling someone like that to bring cooling towels is bad medical advice.
Right. And I also saw a report of, it may have been a cast member that said, well, maybe you shouldn't be at Disney if this is such a huge issue for you because it is hot everywhere. It might not have been a cast member. I might cut that out. I'm trying to think if it was maybe somebody on the forum that said, well, maybe you shouldn't be at Disney.
Okay, but don't cut that out because honestly, that's going to happen too. This is just going to elevate the feeling of
ableism.
Yes. The anger that people have towards, people who have disabilities.
Right. Especially invisible ones.
And I just feel like it's going to make the regular healthy guest more angry because they're going to have people crawling over them in lines to get back to their families. It's not accommodating the way that it should be.
Yeah, as it is now, or as it was before this went into place, I didn't even notice people using DAS. Like that wasn't even on my radar. But now it's going to be a bigger deal if we're all using the same line. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, I personally am not going to get angry at anything because I'm pretty laid back and I don't care.
Right. Same.
But there are a lot of people that do care.
There are a lot of people that do care. And, whatever, right? Like if it bugs you, fine. It doesn't bug me terribly. I always am just like, I'm at the happiest place on earth. I might get on the ride 2 minutes later than I initially would have. No big deal. And I try to keep that mindset.
Yes, and we are there often, which we say this a lot. Like for us, we can be more laid back because we are not trying to get on every ride all day, every day. But there are some people, this is their once in a lifetime trip. So it gets a little bit more, they have a little bit more pressure on them to have a good time and get on every ride. And that's hard to stay laid back when you see what you perceive as line cutting.
Yes. Okay. And I found the actual verbiage of the woman who has the heart condition. So I was going to read it to you and just kind of see what her experience was. But this is what she wrote. I have a tissue disorder that affects muscle tone globally. Without going into too much detail, my heart overcompensates its pulse when it's exposed to certain triggers like prolonged heat and exertion, causing pain across my body. My doctor has directed for me to recognize the beginnings of these attacks and find a cool place to sit to return to stability. The representative told me to use ice packs and cooling towels, as well as to bring a real chair into the queue. The towels I can understand, but for someone with muscle issues, carrying around a wheelchair all day when I often visit alone is more likely to accelerate my attacks than prevent them. She also brought up the queue reentry system, which, as others have said, seems more complicated than anything. I asked if this is the same solution for conditions like ADHD, which I have, with triggers like sensory overload around crowds. The solution to this was acquiring noise-canceling headphones, for purchase, of course, so not an accommodation by definition, within the park. Other sensory concerns were not addressed. And her ending was, I don't know who DAS is for now, but it is not for disabled people. I implore you to not give in to buying Genie Plus, which she kind of has that speculation, or individual lightning lanes if you don't qualify under the new rules. Do not let them profit off of your disability.
And let's talk about this for a second. Genie Plus at Disneyland, is like a million times better than it is at Disney World. Right. Asking somebody to get Genie Plus as an accommodation at Disney World is ludicrous. You can't get on rides at Disney World with Genie Plus. It's not as easy. No. Especially if you're not staying on property, which, come on, Disney.
And wheelchairs are not the answer to everything.
Right.
Okay, Kenley, here's an example. The other day, she was driving on the freeway in her new car. That's what we talked about on the other recording that we canceled. Kenley got a car. Anyway, she was driving on the freeway, and we were talking every entrance ramp when people were trying to get on the freeway and merge. Every time we were out, and we were talking about how you manage it and how you start paying attention as you come to that ramp and you see who's on there, and you're kind of gauging your speed with them and deciding if you need to move over and let them on or if they're going to be able to merge, whatever. And this particular one, there was a car coming, and they were pretty neck and neck with us. And I said, can you move over? And she's like, I think so. And she couldn't. There was a car right at her back end. And so I said, no. And she looked, and I was like, you can't, don't do it. And she's like, okay. And then she hit her brakes. And I was like, no, that's not the answer here. The answer here is to speed up. You need to put a little gas on it and go, 2 or 3 miles more per hour, and they'll merge in behind you because there's plenty of space behind you. But don't slam on your brakes.
Right.
And so I guess my point in saying that is the answer is not a one-size-fits-all thing. And that's kind of what we were talking about when it comes to driving. And when it comes to this, you can't just shove wheelchairs at everybody. Like, that is not the answer. And I've been open about this before, that I have had back surgery and I've used DAS a couple of times. I don't use it every time because I don't need it every time. But when I'm having a bad bout of back issues and my back is spasming frequently and my muscles are seizing, the best thing for me is to keep moving. It's not to stand in one place or sit in one place because everything seizes up and I can't stand up straight.
Right.
So the answer for me is not a wheelchair. The answer for a lot of people is not a wheelchair. But for some reason, it seems to be an excellent solution.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard. And we know that, Disney isn't doing this to be nefarious. At least I don't think so. I think that it's just misguided at this point. And I think they do this a lot, where they throw out a new thing and then they end up backpedaling.
Which is weird to me because it's such a big company.
Right. You would think they would be doing the research ahead of time instead of as it goes.
Right.
Which is kind of what it feels like sometimes.
Which is also why I made that joke earlier about Avatar, that it came out as an Avatar experience, but then they've built it into a land. Let's start doing that across the board, Disney.
Yeah.
Let's start it off with like the basic minimal and then build it to what you need it to be instead of making a big old conglomerate and dialing it back.
Do some beta testing in smaller populations of the park to see how things go and then roll it out instead of this massive, I don't know. It's hard. And honestly, it feels like the byproduct of a failed Genie Plus system to me. It feels like they are not making as much money as they like to on Genie Plus. And because Genie Plus costs so much and is so complicated, people that normally would have just done, like the free Fast Pass Plus system are resorting to using DAS when they wouldn't need to otherwise, because they can't use Genie Plus.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's there's a barrier to entry for Genie Plus, especially at Disney World.
I agree. And I think, too, that you're going to see a lot more people who are actually cutting lines. It's going to be a lot easier for people to cut lines because, no matter what system is in place, there are going to be people who abuse it. This is not going to get rid of the abusers of systems. This is just going to make it easier for them to cut line because, I just had to leave the line. I'm going to go up and meet with my party.
Well, and then also what happens when you're a solo traveler and you need to leave the line and come back in? Who are you meeting back up with? How do you know where your place in line was? Like, are you just having to become friends with the strangers around you and rely on their kindness to let you back in? I don't see that happening.
And not everybody who goes to Disneyland goes with other people.
Right.
There are lots of people who go solo.
I would like to have faith in humanity, but that is a failure waiting to happen right there. So that's, like I said, I don't understand that return to line option. It makes no sense to me. It's heavy.
I
don't
really
like
heavy.
it.
I don't like it either. Like we said, this is in place at Walt Disney World, but it is coming to Disneyland. Maybe It doesn't come out until next month at Disneyland.
Maybe there's time.
Maybe there's time. Maybe there's hope that they can just say, okay, scrap it. We're done. We're going to go back to what it was until we figure out a better system.
And there's a lot of people in these forums too that are typically Disney apologists.
Right.
That are actually pretty hopping mad about this. Like this one is kind of crossing a line for even the most hardcore Disney lovers.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't understand. I don't understand why the change. I mean, I do, but I don't. And I don't understand the rationale for limiting it to just such a specific group of people and then also still not even approving everybody that falls under that category.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's hard. I think, maybe there will be enough people that rebel and don't go to Disney, but I don't think it will be enough. This happens often, right? Disney raises their prices and everyone says, I'm not going anymore. And then they go anyway.
Right.
So this is a hard one.
It is a really hard one. And I don't know. I just don't love it. And we were kind of, when we started talking about when they announced these changes initially, we were like, we'll just wait and see how they handle it when it happens. It's not going to be as bad as we think.
Right.
It's as bad as we think.
Well, and there was no point in getting outraged before it was put into place anyway, because they weren't going to change anything. There were a lot of people that did get outraged before it happened, and it still went into place. So
And
I don't know.
Now I'm outraged. I'm not outraged. That's not the feeling I feel. We're
disappointed and, like I said, cautiously optimistic that they will fix it and it will be at least as good as it was before eventually. But it might take a while.
Here's my question, though. And I did see this also. Did you see this? There was some verbiage, and I'm trying to think where I saw it. I can't remember where I saw it, but there was verbiage on something you agree to.
Oh, to not join a class action lawsuit.
To not join a class action lawsuit.
It's actually part of the interview process. You have to click a box that says you agree not to be part of any class action lawsuits if you get approved for DAS. Or maybe it's a condition of even getting the interview in the first place. I don't know.
I don't remember, but I remember seeing that you are not able to join a class action lawsuit. So they know that this is problematic.
I know.
So you have to sign your life away first and then go in.
It'll just cost you your voice to get DAS.
And they also have said that if you are found to be lying and if you are found to be abusing it, that you will receive a lifetime ban from the parks.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that was probably similar before. I don't know.
I mean, it should have been.
Right.
But then that's hard to prove too.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know. And I've seen a bunch of people say they like Universal System better, and then a lot of people saying they hate Universal System.
And Universal System requires some sort of documentation, which also, I believe, according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, is not okay.
I don't know the answer to that. I feel like they wouldn't have put it in place if it wasn't okay.
I just
somehow
feel like
there's a way around it. Maybe.
Because I think that you are not,
I get the general vibe, though, that people going to Disney would be happy to provide proof if it was a way for them to get guaranteed.
Right. And but that shouldn't make it okay.
Yeah.
If that's not part of it. If you're protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act to not have to explain your disability, you shouldn't have to, because that's the best of the evils.
Yeah. I mean, I am not well versed in the Americans with Disabilities Act. I have really not a lot of knowledge about it. And so does it apply to a private place like Disneyland or Disney World?
I believe
so. Or is it only for public spaces?
I believe that it is. I don't think it applies to the place. I think it applies to the person with the disability.
Okay.
And that's all encompassing. That they are treated a certain way no matter where they are. Does that make sense?
It does. But
I think they're protected. And it's not about the corporation being protected. It's about the person being protected.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to say that Disney should be protected at all.
I know
what I was saying is, like, this is a private, you pay to get in kind of a place. So
I think
does it apply there?
Oh, I think 100%. Okay. Which I think that's where it needs to apply almost.
Okay. Well, then I was curious too, were they going above and beyond before with DAS? Because I've heard a lot of people say before, like, Disney was really good at accommodating.
Which is why so many people have taken vacations there.
And it doesn't happen at every theme park. Disney was one that they felt safer at than almost any other theme park.
Right.
Because they were so accommodating. So that's why I'm curious
where the line is.
Where the line is, where they're actually required to do something.
Did you read an article this weekend? I follow them on Instagram. That's two husbands that live in Seattle. Matthew and Paul. Mm-hmm. And Matthew is always pranking Paul because Paul is blind.
Okay.
And the blindness that he has started when he was quite young. And he said now it's almost like he's looking through a straw.
Okay.
He says he has very little vision and he has no periphery whatsoever. And that's the best way he can explain it, is he's looking through a straw. So he can see and he can make eye contact with you, but he can't functionally see.
Sure.
And he went to a restaurant this last week with his guide dog, Mr. Maple. And he was turned away. And the host at the restaurant was kind of aggressive in turning him away and just said, when he said, but I'm blind, this is my guide dog. And he's like, you don't look blind, because he was making eye contact with the man. And so he ended up leaving, not making a big scene about it. He reached out to the restaurant. He spoke with them. Anyway, my point in saying that is he's made the news, and because he used his platform to speak about it. They have quite a following on Instagram. And he's like, I'm not going to name the restaurant. I don't want anyone going and freaking out with them. Right. I'm not going to do that.
Because one employee, right?
Right. And he's like, and I've had the opportunity to speak with them, but I want to educate people that not all disabilities look the same. And we are offered protection because not all disabilities look the same. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking is, and I am also not well versed in the Americans with Disabilities Act, but I believe it is in place to protect the person. And I think it has
totally
to be.
Makes sense to me.
Right. And I think it has to be with private companies because most companies are private. And so if you're not protected by that, then what's the point?
Right.
So that's, I guess, my point.
Right. And I guess what I am saying is, are they beholden to getting everybody on the rides? Like getting into the park and having a place for your wheelchair to go and, being able to walk around or sit in a shady spot or whatever. They do make accommodations for that. But
what does accessibility mean?
Yes, that's the bottom line. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know the solution. Right. I don't know
This is not a Dear Disney moment for us. We don't have the answer to this one. We do know what we would like to see in the new Disneyland Forward projects. And we do know what we would like to see with Tomorrowland. And we have nothing to say about how we would fix DAS.
Right. I don't know how to fix it. I will say I do know that I want Disney to be a place that families can enjoy and that anybody can enjoy. And it always has been. Yeah. And I want it to continue to move forward in that same vein. Yes.
Well, and I don't know what was broken before that they felt like they needed to fix it.
Right. And that's kind of why I started off by saying I didn't see.
Right. It didn't feel broken to us, but we don't know what went on behind the scenes either.
And people abusing the system are always going to frustrate other people.
Totally.
For sure. Was it frustrating enough that this is the answer?
Maybe.
I guess was maybe my point.
Yeah. Well, and remember when people used to hire other people to get them front of the line access, and they figured out how to stop that from happening. So I don't know. It's hard. Just say that 5 million times. It's hard.
And womp womp.
Yes.
Right? This is a womp womp episode. I don't think we have very many of these.
No, I hope not.
Where we're like cynical and cranky about stuff.
Yeah. But this is one.
So,
and reach out to us if you have any insight or stories or
we'd love to hear from you.
And if you're okay with us sharing your story,
we'd love that as well.
We'd like to tell them.
Sure. And also leave us a 5-star review, guys.
Yes, please.
If this is your first time here, please don't judge us based on this episode entirely.
Yes. It's because we love Disney so much that we want everybody to be able to enjoy it.
Right.
And so this is hard.
It is really hard. And it's hard to see how many people are so frustrated. And it's hard to see how many people... I think my thing is just compassion. Like I look at all of these people as it's rolled out at Walt Disney World who are sharing their experiences, who have debilitating disabilities.
Or their children do. And how hard is that?
Right. And now they're like, and this has been a sanctuary for them. It's something that they've enjoyed doing with their families. And all of a sudden it feels like completely changed.
It feels like it's been taken away from them in a sense. So let's fix it, Disney.
Yes.
Let's figure this out.
Please. Anyway.
Okay, this is your weekly reminder to follow us on Instagram at Ropedrop.Parkhop and on Facebook the same, and go join our fun discussion group, Rope Dropping and Park Hopping.
And if you're so inclined, join us on the Patreon. Mm-hmm. We are having our monthly Zoom meeting this evening, which is going to be fun. I bought some stuff for it today.
I'm excited.
Yesterday. I haven't told you this yet, but I will. And
surprise.
And yeah, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Please don't give us 1 star based on this.
Right. And we will see you next week, hopefully with some happier news.
Right. It'll be much better. The tone will have changed. Maybe. Most likely.
The kids will be out for summer, so we may be deep in.
Speaking of, we might have some Rope Drop Kids episodes coming up.
Right. They are having a meeting tonight to discuss.
They're talking about it.
What their plans are.
I will tell you, one person at my house, you might be surprised, came up to me yesterday or the day before and said, Mom, are we doing Rope Drop Kids this summer? And I said, I don't know. Do you want to? And he said, I do.
Okay.
Which surprised me because he was kind of dragging his feet last year. Yeah. So
you will see some episodes this summer.
Get excited.
Woohoo. Okay. See you next week, guys.
Bye.